The roar of the helicopter blades tore through the cold mountain air, but it couldn't drown out my scream. I watched in frozen horror as my disabled daughter, Lily, clung to the open edge of the chopper, her terrified fingers slipping against the metal. And right behind her stood Karen, our smug, rule-obsessed HOA president, with that same twisted smile she always wore when she thought she'd won. "Accidents happen," she said coldly, and shoved. Time stopped. Lily's small body fell backward into the sky, her red scarf fluttering like a final goodbye. My headset went silent. My hands trembled on the controls. Karen didn't know who was flying the helicopter that day, because I wasn't just any pilot. I was the senior air operations commander. And she had just tried to murder my daughter. And this time, I saw everything. Hey, everyone! Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Which city are you watching this story from? Drop your city's name in the comments below. I love seeing where my viewers are from. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now because the story you're about to hear is one you'll never forget. All right, let's begin. It all started in the quiet suburbs of Willow Creek, a place that looked perfect on the outside. Freshly painted houses, trimmed lawns, and a strict HOA led by one woman, Karen Whitmore. She called herself the protector of community standards, but everyone knew she was just a control freak hiding behind a rule book. My daughter, Lily, had been through more pain than most kids her age. After a childhood accident left her in a wheelchair, she found joy in one thing: watching helicopters take off with me. I was a senior pilot for the county's air rescue division. To her, the sky wasn't just freedom, it was hope. But Karen hated that joy. She said Lily's wheelchair blocked the pathway. Her laughter disturbed the peace. And our yard didn't meet HOA appearance codes. I ignored her insults, until the day she crossed a line no parent could forgive. When she volunteered to inspect a new emergency landing zone, I didn't know she had hidden motives. I thought it was just another power trip, but that day, the woman who claimed to keep the community safe turned into something far darker. And up in the sky, where she thought no one would ever know, she made the biggest mistake of her life. Karen Whitmore wasn't just the HOA president. She was the self-appointed queen of Willow Creek. Every week, she'd parade around with her clipboard, measuring grass height, counting porch lights, and leaving nasty little violation slips in people's mailboxes. Her power wasn't official, it was psychological. People feared her more than they respected her. For the longest time, I tried to stay out of it. My job as a senior pilot with the county's air rescue division kept me busy, and after my wife passed away, my focus was solely on Lily. My daughter was my world, sweet, curious, always drawing pictures of helicopters and telling me she'd fly one day herself. She couldn't walk, but her spirit soared higher than anyone I knew. Karen, though, she had a problem with that. It started small, dirty looks when Lily's wheelchair ramp was being installed, complaints that it ruined the neighborhood's symmetry. She once told me, with a smirk, maybe your daughter would be happier somewhere, less visible. That night, I clenched my fists so hard my nails drew blood. Then came the letters. Fines for leaving Lily's medical chair ramp too close to the sidewalk. Accusations that we'd violated HOA uniformity by having an accessibility rail painted blue instead of beige. She even took pictures, walking onto my property without permission. At first, I ignored her. But the day she shouted at Lily, that was the day I stopped staying silent. It happened on a warm Saturday morning. I was cleaning the garage while Lily played near the driveway, guiding her little remote control helicopter through the air. Karen appeared, holding her dog's leash like a weapon, and snapped, "That thing's too noisy! It's disturbing the neighborhood." Lily looked up, confused. "It's just a toy," she said softly. Karen sneered. "Then keep your toys inside, dear. And tell your father that the community doesn't appreciate clutter." When I stepped outside, my heart was pounding. "Karen," I said coldly, "you're trespassing." "Leave now." She smiled like she enjoyed it. "Oh, I'm just doing my duty, Mr. Walker. Making sure everyone follows the rules, even you." From that day on, it became war. She filed complaint after complaint about my lawn, about the placement of Lily's wheelchair ramp, even about the rescue helicopter that sometimes landed nearby when I was on standby. "It's an eyesore," she wrote in one report. "The noise is intolerable. Ironically, that helicopter had saved 3 lives in our neighborhood that month, alone." Things escalated one evening when I got a notice from the HOA demanding that I relocate hazardous materials from my property, referring to the fuel tanks used for emergency drills. I called the county board. They told me Karen had no jurisdiction over emergency services. Still, her influence spread. Neighbors began avoiding me. Some even whispered that my presence brought trouble. I wanted to move, but Lily didn't. She loved her school, her few friends, and the little garden we'd built together. "We can fix this, Daddy," she said one night, her voice trembling but hopeful. "You always tell me to rise above storms." She was right. But this storm wasn't just weather. It was a hurricane named Karen. A week later, an HOA meeting was announced. Topic: Community Safety and Compliance Violations. When I entered the room, Karen was already standing at the podium. On the screen behind her was a photo of my backyard helipad. "Mr. Walker," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm, "is it true you've been operating aircraft in a residential zone without proper authorization?" The crowd murmured. I stood up. "That pad is for county emergency use. It's legal. Check the county registry," she laughed. "Oh, I've checked. But tell me, does that include landing your toy helicopters? Or are we calling those training exercises now?" My jaw tightened. "You're out of line, Karen." Her eyes gleamed. "I'll be the judge of that." After that night, she didn't stop. She dug deeper, snooping into my work schedule, talking to neighbors, even following Lily home from school under the guise of community patrol. I caught her once, taking photos from her car. That's when I decided to report her to the HOA board, but she was the board. Still, something strange happened the next week. She knocked on my door, smiling. "Mr. Walker, I may have been too harsh," she said sweetly. "I'd like to make it up to you. The HOA is arranging a demonstration flight for our safety initiative, and we'd love for Lily to see it. You're welcome to join." Every instinct told me it was a trap, but Lily's eyes lit up. "Daddy, please!" "Can I go, just once?" I hesitated. Karen looked harmless, polite even. Maybe this was her attempt to fix things. I agreed. I didn't know that by saying yes. I'd just signed the permission slip for the most terrifying day of my life, the day Karen would push my daughter out of a helicopter, thinking no one would ever know. But she didn't know who was behind the controls that day. She didn't know I would see everything from the sky. And she didn't know her nightmare had just begun. The invitation came 2 days later, a polished envelope sealed with the HOA emblem. Inside was a letter, carefully worded and signed by none other than Karen Whitmore herself. "Dear Mr. Walker, the Willow Creek HOA is honored to collaborate with local emergency services for an upcoming safety and aerial awareness demonstration. We believe your experience as a senior pilot can provide valuable insight to our residents. We'd also love to invite your daughter, Lily, to experience the view from above. Sincerely, Karen Whitmore, HOA President." It was professional, respectful, almost too perfect. For the first time in months, I thought maybe, just maybe, Karen was trying to make peace. Lily squealed with excitement when she read the invitation. She hugged me tight and said, "See, Daddy? Maybe she's not so bad after all." But my gut said otherwise. Something about Karen's sudden kindness didn't sit right. She was the kind of woman who didn't blink without a reason. She never apologized, never backtracked. So why this? Why now? Still, Lily's eyes gleamed with hope, and I couldn't take that away from her. "All right," I said finally. "We'll go. But we'll keep it short." That Saturday morning, the sun burned gold through the clouds. At the airfield, a small crowd had gathered. HOA members, a few families, and even the local news channel. Karen was there, of course, in her royal blue blazer and oversized sunglasses, acting like she owned the place. "Mr. Walker," she greeted me, voice sugar sweet. "So glad you came. I thought it'd be nice for Lily to see what her father does for the community." I forced a polite smile. "Thanks for the invitation." Her eyes flickered with amusement. "Oh, don't thank me yet." Something about the way she said it chilled me. Lily rolled up beside me, waving to the camera crew. She was wearing her favorite pink scarf, the same one her mother knitted before she passed. She looked radiant, alive, full of light. Karen bent down beside her. "You ready to fly, sweetheart?" Lily nodded shyly. "Yes, ma'am." I've never been in a real helicopter before. Karen's grin widened. "Well, today's your lucky day." The plan was simple, a short demonstration flight for community safety awareness. Karen claimed she wanted to record footage for the HOA's promotional video. She insisted on being on board for transparency, along with one of her committee members, a man named Ron, who looked nervous from the moment he stepped out of his SUV. Something about him felt off. He avoided eye contact, checked his watch constantly, and followed Karen's every instruction like a scared intern. Before takeoff, I briefed everyone on safety procedures. No sudden movements. "Keep your seatbelts fastened. Stay clear of the doors." Karen nodded obediently. Too obediently. As the blade spun faster, Lily squeezed my hand. "This is amazing, Daddy." I smiled at her, trying to hide the unease clawing at my chest. "Just enjoy the view, sweetheart." Karen leaned close to the intercom. "Mind if we take a quick route over Willow Creek Park? It'll look lovely on camera." I hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. Just a short loop." As we lifted off, Karen's demeanor changed. Her fake smile disappeared, replaced by a cold, calculating stillness. She whispered something to Ron, too low for me to hear, and he nodded. I pretended not to notice. But my pilot instincts kicked in. I turned on the internal recording system, something I always did for training missions. A quiet, hidden camera near the cockpit began to record everything: video, audio, and flight data. That small decision would later save my daughter's life and destroy Karen's. The helicopter climbed above the tree line, the houses below shrinking into toy blocks. Lily giggled as she pointed out her school, her favorite park, and the white-roofed HOA office. Karen laughed along, pretending to be friendly. "Such a beautiful view," she said. "Imagine living here and not following the rules." Ron chuckled nervously. I narrowed my eyes. "Rules keep people safe, but some people forget they're not above them." Karen's smile faltered for a split second, then returned, sharper. "Oh, I know exactly what you mean." The tension thickened. Even over the thrum of the rotors, I could feel the hostility radiating from her. As we passed over the lake, Karen suddenly asked, "Can we open the side door for a better shot?" I frowned. "Absolutely not." "That's unsafe at this altitude," she pouted. "Come on, Mr. Walker, just for a few seconds." "Ron here's done this before, haven't you?" Ron stammered. Yeah, it's fine." Lily looked nervous. "Daddy, maybe we shouldn't—" I cut Karen off. "No one opens that door, understood?" Karen shrugged, pretending to comply. "You're the expert." But I didn't miss the glance she exchanged with Ron. As the helicopter circled the final stretch, something unexpected happened. Karen unclipped her seatbelt, slowly, deliberately. "Karen!" I barked through the mic. "Sit down and strap in!" She ignored me. Her hair whipped in the wind as she crouched beside Lily, who was pointing out the lake below. Then Karen smiled again. That same fake, icy smile I'd seen 100 times before. "You know, Mr. Walker," she said over the intercom, "some people don't deserve all the special treatment they get, just because they're different." Before I could respond, she reached for the door handle. Ron's hand trembled on the latch. "Karen, don't!" I yelled, but it was too late. The door flung open. The wind howled, and Karen's next move would change everything. She grabbed Lily's wheelchair frame and pushed. For one split second, I froze, disbelief paralyzing me. Then training took over. I yanked the collective control, banking the helicopter hard to the right. The world tilted, alarm screamed, and I saw Lily's small hand slip from the railing, her pink scarf trailing through the air. Karen screamed too, not from guilt, but from fear that I'd seen it all, and I had. Every second, every movement, recorded. She thought she'd hidden her crime in the clouds. But she forgot. I was the pilot. And I saw everything from above. Her day of reckoning had just begun. The instant Karen's hands left Lily's wheelchair, the world collapsed into chaos. The wind roared through the open door, the rotors screamed, and every muscle in my body moved on instinct. "Mayday! Mayday!" I shouted into the radio, yanking the helicopter into a banking dive. The horizon spun. Sky, trees, lake. And through the madness, I saw my daughter falling, her pink scarf fluttering against the morning light like a broken signal flare. "Lily!" My voice cracked, raw and desperate. Karen screamed too. Not for Lily, but because she thought we'd crash. She clung to her seat, her sunglasses flying off, revealing wild, terrified eyes. You're crazy!" she shrieked. "No, Karen!" I growled, forcing the chopper steady. "You are." Below us, the lake glittered, cold, merciless, waiting. My mind ran faster than the spinning blades. Lily wasn't strapped in. Her chair wasn't designed for impact. But I remembered she was wearing her air vest. A prototype safety harness I'd built for her months ago after she'd asked, "Daddy, what if I ever fell?" She'd laughed when I made it, calling it her superhero cape. Now that invention was her only chance. I leveled the helicopter, eyes locked on the falling figure below. "Come on, baby," I whispered. "Pull the cord." And then, whoosh! A burst of yellow fabric exploded beneath her. The vest deployed. Lily's fall slowed, her body spinning through the air like a leaf drifting from a branch. She hit the lake hard, but she hit alive. I exhaled shakily, adrenaline flooding my veins. "Hang on, sweetheart." "I'm coming." Karen grabbed my arm. "Don't you dare land near her. The HOA will—" I shoved her hand away so hard, her manicured nails scraped across the control panel. "You just tried to kill my daughter," I snarled. "You're lucky I don't drop you next." Ron, pale as a ghost, sat frozen. I didn't know she was serious," he stammered. "She said it was a scare." I didn't answer. The helicopter roared as I tilted it into descent mode. The world blurred beneath us, water rushing closer. I spotted Lily floating near the shore, her vest half deflated but holding. Relief hit me like a punch. "Control, this is Commander Walker. Child in the water, deploying rescue." "Send medical now!" The radio crackled with static, then a reply. "Copy that, Commander. Units en route. Coordinates locked." As I maneuvered the helicopter into a hover above the shoreline, Karen began trembling, but not from remorse. "From panic. You're the pilot?" she stammered. I turned slowly, locking eyes with her. "Senior Air Operations Commander Walker." Her face drained of color. "Oh my God." "Yeah," I said coldly. "And I just recorded every second of what you did." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The moment we touched down, I didn't waste a breath. I leapt from the cockpit, sprinting toward the lake. The water was freezing, biting through my uniform, but I didn't care. Lily's head bobbed weakly above the surface. "Daddy," she whispered, coughing. "I'm okay." Tears blurred my vision. "You're safe now, baby." "I've got you." I pulled her into my arms, wrapping her in the emergency blanket from my gear kit. Behind us, sirens began to wail, police cruisers, ambulances, rescue teams converging. Karen stumbled out of the helicopter, drenched in sweat and guilt. The crowd from the airfield, drawn by the noise, stood frozen as she screamed, "It was an accident! She fell!" I turned toward her, fury burning cold in my chest. "Don't you dare lie!" I pointed at the still spinning helicopter. "There's a camera inside, Karen. It recorded everything. The moment you unbuckled your seatbelt, the second you grabbed her chair, the look in your eyes when you pushed." Her mouth fell open. "Check the black box," I told the officers who had arrived. "You'll find all the proof you need." The cops moved quickly. Karen backed away, shouting hysterically, "He's lying! He's framing me. I was trying to help her." Ron finally spoke, voice shaking. "No, she's not. I saw it. She told me to open the door. Said she wanted to teach the girl a lesson. I didn't think she meant—" He broke down mid-sentence. Karen's scream split the air. "You backstabbing coward!" 2 officers stepped forward and cuffed her. She fought, kicking, sobbing, mascara streaking down her face. "You can't do this to me! I'm the HOA president. I have rights." "Not anymore," I said quietly. At the hospital, Lily was declared stable. Mild hypothermia, bruising, but alive. When I held her hand that night, I couldn't stop replaying that moment in the sky. The shove, the fall. The way her tiny hand reached out, trusting that I'd catch her somehow, and I had. Karen's arrest made the evening news before sunset. Reporters flooded Willow Creek, headlines flashing across every channel. HOA president arrested for attempted murder of disabled child during aerial demonstration. Neighbors who once whispered behind our backs now lined up outside the hospital with flowers and apologies. "We didn't know," they said. "We thought she was helping." I didn't respond. My focus was only on Lily. When she woke the next morning, her voice was small but steady. "Daddy, did she go to jail?" "Yes," I said softly. "And she won't ever hurt anyone again," she smiled faintly. "Then maybe. The sky isn't scary anymore." I smiled too, tears falling. "No, sweetheart. The sky's still yours, but deep inside I knew this wasn't over. Karen had friends, connections, and people like her didn't fade quietly. Somewhere out there, she was already plotting her next move. But so was I. Because if Karen thought she could use her power to destroy lives, she was about to learn what real authority looked like, and this time, justice would come from the sky." 3 days after the incident, Willow Creek was unrecognizable. The once quiet suburb now buzzed with media vans, flashing cameras and murmuring neighbors who couldn't believe the perfect HOA president had been led away in handcuffs. Everyone had an opinion, but only one truth mattered: the video. The footage from the helicopter's internal recorder spread like wildfire. Every frame showed the moment Karen unbuckled, whispered to Ron, then lunged toward Lily's wheelchair. The push, the scream, the open sky. It was impossible to watch without shivering. The sheriff's department launched a full investigation, and because of my role as a senior air rescue commander, the evidence passed straight to the district attorney's office. Within 48 hours, Karen Whitmore was charged with attempted murder, reckless endangerment, and child abuse. Yet, somehow even in a jail jumpsuit, Karen still acted like she ran the town. On the morning of her hearing, she arrived smirking, her hair neatly tied, pretending to be the victim. "This is a misunderstanding," she told the cameras. "I was trying to help that poor girl when she slipped." But the DA played the footage in open court. Silence filled the room, except for the mechanical sound of the rotor blades from the video and my daughter's terrified scream. Karen's expression twisted. Her attorney leaned in, whispering frantically, but she slammed her hand on the table. "He's setting me up. That video is doctored." The judge's gavel cracked through the chaos. "Order! Mrs. Whitmore, one more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." She sat, trembling with fury. When I was called to testify, I stood tall in uniform. My hands shook slightly, not from nerves but from restrained anger. "Your Honor," I said, my voice steady, "Karen Whitmore deliberately endangered my daughter's life. I witnessed it firsthand, and the evidence supports it. I trusted her to be a responsible citizen. Instead, she became a danger to everyone around her." Karen glared at me, whispering, "You'll regret this, Walker." But her threats meant nothing now. Outside the courtroom, the crowd waited for my statement. Microphones flashed in my face as reporters shouted, "Commander Walker, how's your daughter? Do you think justice will be served? Did you ever suspect Karen was capable of this?" I paused before answering. My daughter is alive because of preparation, and because the truth has wings. Karen thought she could hide her cruelty above the clouds. She forgot one thing: my cameras don't lie. The clip aired nationwide that night. Social media erupted. Hashtags trended. Justice for Lily, Aho Karen, Sky Witness. People from across the country sent messages of support. Veterans, rescue pilots, parents of disabled children, all saying the same thing: "Thank you for standing up." Lily watched some of the messages from her hospital bed, her small face glowing in the blue light of the screen. "Daddy," she said quietly, "are people really this kind?" "Most of them are, sweetheart," I whispered, kissing her forehead. They just needed to see the truth. But the story didn't end there. Karen's lawyers filed motion after motion, claiming mental distress, momentary panic, even post-traumatic stress from turbulence. Her legal team tried to paint her as a victim of circumstance, saying she lost her balance and accidentally pushed Lily. Yet the video slowed down, frame by frame, showed her intent too clearly. The way she looked right at me before shoving, the cruel smirk. The satisfaction. The judge denied bail. Still, Karen wasn't done playing games. From behind bars, she began leaking letters to local reporters, twisting the story. Walker endangered his own child, one letter claimed. He's using me to cover up his negligence. For days, the media noise got loud again. Speculation, talk shows, social media debates. But the tide turned the moment the aviation data was released. The chopper's telemetry proved I'd activated emergency procedures within seconds of the push. The flight recorder, audio, and my voice logs matched perfectly. Truth crushed her lies like glass under a boot. Weeks later, the final verdict came down. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors, journalists, even members of the HOA board who'd once obeyed her every word. The judge's voice was calm, but it carried thunder. Mrs. Whitmore, your actions were deliberate, malicious, and nearly fatal. You abused your position of authority, jeopardized a child's life, and brought shame to this community. The court sentences you to 25 years in state prison without the possibility of parole for 15. The gavel fell. Karen's scream echoed through the chamber. As deputies dragged her away, she twisted toward me, eyes blazing. You think you've won? You've ruined everything! I stared back, unflinching. No, Karen. You did that the moment you pushed an innocent child. Outside, the air felt lighter. Reporters followed, cameras flashing, but I ignored them. Lily waited at the steps, bundled in her wheelchair, waving. I knelt, wrapping her in my arms. It's over, I whispered. She'll never hurt anyone again. Lily smiled, a quiet strength shining in her eyes. Then maybe the sky's ours again, Daddy. I looked up at the clouds. The same sky that had nearly taken her, now glowing gold in the afternoon light. Yeah, I murmured. Ours forever. As we drove home, I passed the entrance sign to Willow Creek Estates. The HOA board had already removed Karen's name from the list of officers. A fresh notice hung in its place. Community Safety and Compassion Week, in honor of Lily Walker. For the first time in months, I felt peace settle inside me, but in the distance, beyond the trees, a single helicopter lifted off, one of ours, heading to a rescue call. Its blades thundered across the sky, steady and proud. Lily pointed at it, smiling wide. Fly safe, Daddy. I always do, sweetheart, I said softly, watching it vanish into the clouds, because that's what we do. We rise again. Even when someone tries to push us down. The weeks after Karen's sentencing were strangely quiet, almost too quiet. Willow Creek, once a neighborhood built on fear and perfectionism, began to heal. The HOA board dissolved temporarily, and for the first time in years, the sound of children laughing filled the streets instead of Karen's echoing complaints. But for me and Lily, the silence held its own kind of weight. Even though justice had been served, the memories didn't fade easily. At night, I'd still wake up drenched in sweat, hearing the thundering blades, the sound of the latch opening, Lily's scream echoing through the headset. I'd jolt upright every time a helicopter passed overhead, scanning the sky like a soldier on alert. And yet, Lily was the opposite. She had faced the unthinkable and somehow come out stronger. Her fear of flying was gone. Completely. Daddy, she said one morning as sunlight poured through her hospital window. When I fell, I thought I'd never see you again. But I wasn't scared. I just knew you'd find me. Those words broke something inside me. I hugged her tight and whispered, You're braver than anyone I've ever known. Within days, she was cleared for discharge. The community gathered outside the hospital as we wheeled her out. Neighbors who had once avoided us now clapped, holding signs that read, Welcome home, Lily, and Heroes live next door. The local news crew filmed the moment. A reporter asked her gently, Lily, what would you say to people who are afraid of standing up to bullies like Karen? Lily smiled softly, her voice clear and confident. You don't fight them by shouting louder. You fight them by showing them you're not afraid to fly higher. The clip went viral within hours. People from across the country started sending letters, toys, and even donations for Lily's recovery. One school in Texas sent a handmade quilt covered in embroidered words, "Wings never break." But while the world praised our courage, I couldn't stop thinking about the man who'd been silent since the incident, Ron. He'd testified against Karen, yes, but he'd vanished afterward. No interviews, no public statements. Something about that bothered me. My instincts told me Karen hadn't acted completely alone. One afternoon, I got a call from Detective Harris, who'd been leading the investigation. "Walker," he said, his tone serious, "you might want to come down to the station." We recovered some additional evidence. When I arrived, Harris slid a folder across the desk. Inside were copies of emails between Karen and Ron, weeks before the safety flight. "Make sure the rear latch isn't secured. She needs to learn consequences. I'll record from my phone. This will make him quit." My blood ran cold. They hadn't planned to kill her at first. They wanted to terrify me, force me to resign from my job, make me the villain in my own neighborhood. Karen's obsession with power had twisted into something monstrous, and Ron had helped her. I clenched my fists. "Where is he now?" Harris sighed. "We picked him up this morning. He's cooperating. Says he didn't know she'd actually pushed the girl." I shook my head. "He still opened that door." Harris nodded grimly. "He's being charged with accessory to attempted murder." Justice, once again, was catching up. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, I told her gently, "It's finally over, sweetheart." She smiled sleepily. "Good. Can we go flying again soon?" I hesitated. "You really want to?" She nodded. "I want to look down at the lake, the one that saved me." So a week later we did. It was early morning, the kind of dawn that paints the sky gold and pink. I carried Lily to the hangar, her wheelchair folded neatly in the back. She wore her favorite scarf again, the same pink one from that terrible day, now stitched with a tiny patch that read, "Survivor." When the blades began to spin, I looked at her and asked, "Ready, co-pilot?" She grinned. "Always." We lifted off slowly, the wind rushing against the windows. Below us, Willow Creek stretched like a living map, peaceful, calm, reborn. The lake shimmered beneath the sunlight. Lily pressed her hand against the glass. "That's where I fell," she whispered. "But now, it looks beautiful." I swallowed hard, my throat thick with emotion. "Because you made it beautiful again." For the first time since that nightmare, I didn't feel fear when I looked down. Only gratitude. Later that evening, as we returned home, I found a letter taped to our front door. It wasn't from the HOA. It was from the new neighborhood council, signed by every family in Willow Creek. "Dear Commander Walker, because of your courage and your daughter's strength, this community has found its heart again. We've established the Lily Walker Community Scholarship, dedicated to children with disabilities who dream of flying, in the sky or in life. Thank you for reminding us what compassion really means." I stood there on the porch, holding that letter, feeling tears burn my eyes. Karen had tried to destroy us, to make us small. But all she did was make Lily's light shine brighter than ever. I looked at her through the living room window, coloring a picture of a helicopter with a heart painted on its side. Underneath, she'd written, "For Mommy, for Daddy, for everyone who believed I could fly." And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes the villains fall, not because heroes rise, but because innocence refuses to break. And my daughter, my brave little girl, had just taught the whole world that truth. 6 months passed. The trees in Willow Creek shed their last golden leaves, the same way our community finally shed the fear Karen had planted for years. Her perfect fences were gone. The HOA inspection signboard had been replaced with something far more meaningful, a simple plaque that read, "In memory of second chances and the strength to forgive." Time had moved on, but the scars, visible and invisible, had changed us all. Lily had grown stronger. Physically, emotionally, even spiritually. Her physical therapy sessions were tough, but she treated each one like flight training. "If pilots train to face storms," she'd say, Then I can too. I watched her every day, amazed at how light seemed to follow her wherever she went. Teachers called her the girl with unbreakable wings. But beneath that light, I still carried the dark. The guilt of not seeing Karen's evil sooner, of letting my daughter board that helicopter. Every night I replayed the moment in my head, hearing the echo of the latch, the scream, the wind, until one evening Lily looked at me and said, "Daddy, you saved me, but you have to forgive her, or the sky will never feel free again." Her words hit harder than any verdict. Forgive Karen. The woman who nearly killed her? I didn't answer that night, but her words lingered. A few weeks later, I received a letter from the state correctional facility. My stomach twisted as I saw the sender's name, Karen Whitmore. For minutes, I couldn't bring myself to open it. But curiosity? Or maybe closure? 1. Mr. Walker, I don't expect you to forgive me. I can't forgive myself. Watching the footage in court broke me. Not because I was caught, but because I finally saw the monster I'd become. I used to think control was power. Now I know power means restraint. I see Lily's face in my dreams, every night. Sometimes she forgives me there, sometimes she doesn't. You were right. Cameras don't lie, but sometimes neither do nightmares. I'm sorry. I stared at the page, stunned. The woman who'd once mocked my daughter's disability was now asking for forgiveness. I didn't write back. Not right away. But I folded the letter and tucked it into Lily's scrapbook, next to her hospital wristband, the news clipping, and a photo of her smiling at the airfield weeks later. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant freedom. Spring arrived, bringing color back to Willow Creek. That's when I got the call. A reporter wanted to do a feature on Lily's recovery and the scholarship program that had now funded 6 children's education. At first, I hesitated. But Lily was thrilled. "Daddy, people need to see what happened after. Not just the bad part," so we agreed. The day of the interview, the camera crew set up in our backyard. The same place Karen once called non-compliant. Now, it bloomed with sunflowers, wind chimes, and a tiny flag that read, "Lily's Landing Zone." The reporter smiled warmly. "Lily, what's next for you?" Lily grinned. "I'm going to be a pilot, like my dad. But I'll fly rescue missions for kids who think they're too broken to dream." The reporter turned to me. "Commander Walker, what's the biggest lesson this journey taught you?" I looked at the horizon, the place where the sun met the clouds, where my nightmare had once begun, but where hope lived now. "That sometimes," I said softly, "even in our worst moments, the sky gives us a chance to rise again. And sometimes the people who fall teach us how to lift others." That night, after the cameras left, Lily sat beside me on the porch. The stars shimmered, and somewhere in the distance, the faint hum of a helicopter echoed, another rescue team heading out into the world. Lily whispered, "Mom would have been proud of us, right?" I smiled through tears. "More than proud, baby. She'd say we took our pain and turned it into purpose." She leaned against me, her scarf fluttering in the cool breeze. "Then promise me something. Anything. When I grow up and fly," she said, "I want you to come with me. Just once. No rescuing, no fear, just flying." I laughed softly. "Deal." We sat there in silence, watching that helicopter fade into the distance, a symbol of everything we'd lost and everything we'd gained. A few weeks later, during a public safety event, I took Lily back to the airfield. This time, the crowd wasn't there to watch an HOA president pretend to care about safety. They were there to celebrate heroes. Lily was awarded the Courage in Adversity Medal by the county commissioner. She wheeled forward shyly as the medal was pinned to her chest, and the applause filled the hangar like thunder. When they asked if she wanted to say something, she simply said, "Don't ever let someone else decide how high you can fly." The room went silent, then erupted in cheers. As I looked at her, my daughter, my miracle, my reason for everything, I realized the story was no longer about what Karen had done. It was about what Lily became. She didn't just survive, she transformed, and in doing so, she gave an entire community back its wings. When we got home that night, I looked up at the stars and whispered, "It's over." But deep down, I knew it wasn't really the end. It was the beginning of something greater, a story of rebirth written not in ink, but in courage. Because in Willow Creek, the name Karen Whitmore had faded into history. But Lily Walker, the girl who fell from the sky and learned to rise again, had become the legend that would never be forgotten. And somewhere out there, I imagined the wind carrying her words across every rooftop, every open sky. No matter who tries to push you down, keep flying. If you believe courage isn't about never falling, but about rising again, share Lily's story. Tell someone who's struggling that strength isn't in perfection, it's in persistence. Comment your city below. Let's see how far Lily's message can travel. And before you go, hit subscribe, because more stories like this are coming. Stories that remind us. Even when darkness wins for a moment, light always finds its wings again.